Hi everyone, it's Nathara, and today I'm going to be going over the Encore scene pad, Ice Rose Reverie. Just a quick reminder, you only get what's listed in the pad contents right here. You do not get the display outfit they use. So today I'm going to be going over the Chat Bubble, Enticing Tulip, the Still Pose, Wrist Rime, very cute, the Scene, Gifted Look, and of course the Dynamic Pose, Return of Star. The display outfit they use has only 3 pieces, the hair, the dress, and the shoes, but they are from here. And I did go ahead and just add some accessories to it and save it to my fashion diary in case you're curious about just coming and checking that out. Here's a look at the scene as a whole. You are on a square palette of ice with a few of the 3D assets to make it look more landscapey. You've got a very big picture in the back of a mountainy snow region with the aurora behind it. It does not go full 360. It is just over there, probably to save on graphics or whatever the proper term for that is. Sorry, my brain's not braining. But you do have a lot of 3D assets right here, like the clumps of snow, the crystals, and of course all of the trees. Most of these are pretty barren looking, though you do have one really big nice one right here with a lot of frozen glittering leaves on it. Very gorgeous. And here's your posable area for this scene, something that always astounded me, that you can go beyond like their base area and forward and backward. It's a little insane how big the posable area is for this thing. Just for reference, I'm gonna zoom in on her all the way back there if I can. She is beyond that, all that clumps of snow and everything, so you can go really far back, but again, these are just pictures. They're not even 3D assets at this point. I think only the ones right here in this snow, these ones, are 3D assets, while the ones in the back are pictures that just kind of jiggle. But you can go really far back, which is always, like I said, blows my mind. The sink for this one is your standard knee sink. And of course your height, you can go fairly high up. But unfortunately, the sky for this one is rather blank. There is not a single star in it. I think the focal point is definitely the aurora in the back. It's not the smoothest either. You can definitely see some lines in it. At least I can. Maybe some people can forgive that. And I think with Halo turning it up and then just a touch of DOF, it can fix those lines. Let me check though, just in case I am just talking out of my butt. Alright, so here's with DOF. It does blur those lines a bit and make them a little less noticeable. And then with Halo, you can definitely get rid of those lines. But again, if you do all of that, you might risk blowing your doll out. I mean, my doll has tan skin to begin with, so it's kind of hard to blow her out. But with the paler dolls, you definitely might be pushing it. But besides that, for the rest of the scene, I really do like it. I love these little crystal chunks. This is like a fine line between fantasy and reality, because I can definitely see this in a fantasy world, but I can also see this just like a realistic kind of setting. It's a very good scene for both sides of that, and I love all the glittering light particles. I do like all that, and I love, because the posable area is so big, you can be all around in the 3D assets. So I do really love being able to be over here because there's a clump of really small glittering particles that's really nice to pose in. And of course, this tree is great for whenever you turn up Halo and then you turn down the scale of it, you can make it super sparkly, which is really nice. I've seen a lot of amazing pictures where people utilize this to their advantage, and it always turns out so good. But besides that, there isn't too much else to this scene. I typically, whenever I'm posing here, I am just right here in this area. Here is the lighting comparison between this scene and the standard blue scene. I do feel like this scene has a bit of a matte effect on my doll. She just looks a little bit shinier inside of the standard blue scene. But here's your lighting from the front, from the left, from the back. Very dark, but it's not like super dark where it's like blacking out her eyes and everything. And from the right. And here's the lighting on the darkest and palest shade. It is pretty good on both of them, but let's check how bloom and everything will work. Of course, if you turn it up too high, it's gonna blow out your paler dolls, but that's to be expected, as is if you were to put on a darkening filter, your darker doll is just gonna turn into a kind of almost 2D looking doll because she loses so much definition. But on the normal, without any added effects or anything, I do think they both look fine. And here's our full body pose wrist rhyme. The feet aren't too much to look at, but I almost feel like this should have been a half length pose because of how unposed her bottom half is. Like, I just feel like I personally use this more as a half-length pose than I do a full body pose anyway, so maybe that's just my bias. But here she is with focus on, and because her head is tilted so far back, it's gonna take a moment for it to like actuate. And here it is with a right hand held. Let me change out this for something else. It's not too bad. I don't know if I would use it too often. I might have to like change out the expression just a bit. Here it is with a two-hand held. Again, because the feet are so unposed, or they're unposed for me. I know that the one leg is a little cocked out, but that's just not enough like separation for me to want to be able to use this as like a lineup full body pose. And here it is with a left hand held and a different one, just to give you an idea. I do like it better with a left hand held than I do with a right hand held, mostly because I like how the right arm and hand are posed better than how I like how this one is if you were to take away the right hand, because the left hand on its own isn't it doesn't really do much for me and how I would use my handhelds. But when they're both together, like I said, I really do like this pose just as is without any handhelds. And here's our dynamic pose return of star without the dynamic camera on, because you know, sometimes the clothes can blind you and you may not actually like the dynamic pose, you just like the clothes. So having those off can really help you decide if you like it or not. There is a lot of movement in this one, which is good. It doesn't necessarily match the scene for me. This is definitely looks like it would be in a almost like maybe a ballerina studio or a dance studio with like the woods and the mirrors and the ballet bars in the back. I could definitely see this pose in there, like maybe speakers and everything, you know. But for this scene specifically, I don't think it really matches, which is fine. I mean, it's a good dynamic pose. Like I said, there's lots of movement. As for our expression, for wrist rhyme, you have a very low, close-eyed side eye. I actually really like this. We don't get too many where the eye is closed this much and the mouth is actually parted where you can see the teeth. So even though this is like a very normal side eye, I like this one because it is more exaggerated than the typical side eye we get. And here's our expression for return of star. She looks down a lot during this one. That's why I don't typically use this one unless I have my camera angled from like the bottom looking up, because otherwise she's just never looking up enough. She looks very a little bit despondent the entire time, a little bit sad and like almost dismissive. Like she's just not very like, she's just lost in her thoughts. That's the entire expression set. So again, I just don't really use this one. Alright, and now I'm going to click through the filter so you can see how you might be able to change the ambience of this scene. And here's our vignette. Our halo. Very, very glittery. Again, it's so pretty. This is like one of the few scenes that does this so easily. And your DOF. Also, whenever you have halo up with this, it gets a little bit glitchy, so just be warned about that. And for our white balance, because most of the scene is the same color, you can really see the effects of this. Let me see. Oh goodness, I don't want to go into too harsh of levels. Our saturation, it's going to get very, very blue. And our contrast. And as I was discussing earlier, for posing and everything, I just typically stay in this area, or I move into this little copse of trees right here if I'm not just posing in front of this tree, making it sparkle and glitter like the brilliant thing that it is. Right about here, for some reason, there's a glow spot. Never understood why. But if you're, oops, I did not mean to do that. Can we undo? Yes, we can. Okay, so if you are at the character origin spot, you can just go over here and come up a little bit, too far. But right in, you can see it on the ground actually. I do believe that is the like demarcation line for it. Kind of odd, but basically all the light spots that hit the ground, you're going to be able to get that really glowy effect on your doll, at least these two in the front, because it doesn't do it on this one right here. And again, let's go further back, not on this one. And then she gets lost in the sauce back there in the tree. Those are the only two that I've ever found using this scene anyway. Like I said, I don't actually venture that far away from the origin point whenever I'm in this scene. So if there is another one and I missed it, I'm sorry. But those are the only two I've ever actually tried to use, if I even needed to use them. I don't use glow spots like that too often because they are a lot harder to work with. Like with outfits and all of the retouch settings that you need to do. So typically I am just, like I said, in this little copse of trees over here because the sparkles and the trees look really nice. I always do like that. And plus there's the big crystal right there, super cute. And again, I will be over here next to this tree. Sometimes I sink down just so I can get headshots next to these crystals. Like if you put on, she's probably going to reset when I do this. So annoying that it does that. But I have posed next to these with one of these seated poses before, just because I wanted the crystals and everything and like nothing else. I wonder one day, I hope one day anyway, they'll give us like a cave like scene that has a bunch of mythical looking crystals in it that are just glowing and looking beautiful. I would really love that. And here's our chat bubble, Enticing Tulip. I did pair it with a background that matches really close to it, which is what I like. I just like doing that. Of course, if you like more contrast, pick a different background or whatever. But the chat bubble's cute. It's pretty dainty with the tulips around the edge, and I do really like the ombre of the chat bubble itself. It's very pretty and very quaint. And with that, that's everything I have for the Ice Rose Reverie Scene Pack. I do hope you found this helpful and useful in deciding if you would like to add it to your collection or not. And in the description below, I do have my tracker where you can see all the scenes that have ever been released and even the future ones to come if you are still having trouble deciding if you would like to add this or not. So please do check that out and see if any others spark your interest. But besides that, that's all I have, so I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye!